think that's something I told myself in the beginning. Like, Juan, if you ever get to a moment where you're working with these big brands, never forget where you come from. Never forget your roots. Never forget that you create for yourself first, and then the brand comes after. Because at that point, like, why am I'm just pressing a button? I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'd rather just come up as myself, full self. So like when brands will start coming to me with like just different projects, I'll take a moment. Like I'll probably like a few hours and just like take it in for a moment and be like, wow, like this is you. Step into it.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here at Off the Cuff, where conversations lead to inspiration. I'm your host, Christian Palmer, and today I'm joined by a self-taught photographer who was raised in Brooklyn but now based in LA, who's committed to capturing stories that haven't been told before. He has collaborated with brands such as Nike, Beats by Dre, Instagram, Puma, Sprite, Timberland, and the list goes on. He has also been interviewed by Complex Magazine, Vogue, Telemundo, and was featured on Netflix Strong Black Lens. My next guest keeps the roots of his culture and identity at the forefront, sharing some incredible untold stories in the most organic and genuine way. So without further ado, here's Off the Cuff with Juan Veloz. Juan,
What's going on, man?
welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for having me, man. That intro on it.
That's you,
That
bro.
was beautiful. That's beautiful.
You, man. And it's great to kind of really just walk through those accolades because I think it's super important for us to really understand the journey. But we understand that, you know, there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes, right, that we can't really capture. And that's kind of why I wanted to, you know, bring you onto this platform today to share a little bit more and lean on that story a little bit more as well.
Absolutely. And then, like, I think it just, we live such a fast-paced life that we kind of, well, for me, I'll speak for myself. I forget sometimes what I've done and who I've worked with. So it's good to be reminded. So just thank you for having me.
Absolutely, bro. You know, so I'm definitely inspired by your work, seeing some tremendous things that you have been doing. But I know it kind of all started from early and young, right? One of the things that fascinated me was you being a self-taught photographer. Can you take us back to some of those early moments when you first kind of picked up that camera and kind of what drew you to the inspiration?
Yeah, like my early ages, like around like 13, 14, I remember my grandma always talking about she never had photos of herself growing up in the Dominican Republic. So I'm like, this little like bulb like kind of went off in my head. I'm like, Walita, I think I want to like pick up a camera and like just start documenting the family in the most organic way. And then from that came my sister, Monica Veloz. Shout out to Monica, who was always like, I want photos, like take photos of me. And she's such a personality. I'm like, let me capture that as well. So I think the mixture of like that documentary, but still like capturing personality and like fashion within my sister started that. But also growing up, I was very quiet and timid. So especially if you know Dominican families were very loud, very loud. And for you to be timid is different.
Right.
So I'm like, like I don't think like my voice kind of matters. I don't think whatever I have to say matters. And not that my family kind of like put that on me. I just put that on myself. So it was a mixture of that made me want to be like, well, maybe this is your purpose, to like actually tell stories. Maybe start with your family and then who knows where it can go. So I think like a mixture of all that blended into who I am now, it just makes sense.
We spoke about some of the brands that you collaborated with. Can you tell us and walk us through some of those opportunities and how they came to fruition?
Yeah, so I think for me, working with these big brands, I never really approached things as like, I'm going to work with like so-and-so, right? I always walked into it with just being like, Juan, they just respect you for being you, creating what you want to create. I think that's something I told myself in the beginning. Like, Juan, if you ever get to a moment where you're working with these big brands, never forget where you come from. Never forget your roots. Never forget that you create for yourself first, and then the brand comes after. Because at that point, like, why am I'm just pressing a button? I'm not doing that. I'd rather just come up as myself, full self. So like when brands will start coming to me with like just different projects, I'll take a moment. Like I'll probably like a few hours and just like take it in for a moment and be like, wow, like this is you. Step into it. Go into creative meetings to just be like, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. And hopefully they can meet me in the middle and then we can just create some art.
Wow. Let's dive in like a little bit more into those details, right? Like what is the Juan approach? Like what is you showing up as your true self?
I think for me, it was just moments of just honesty. I love creating from honesty. I don't care who it is. I could be working with the biggest to the smallest to the like anything. I just want to be honest with my approach. I don't want to force anything. I want to talk to all of my subjects before I shoot. It just has to make sense to me. I don't want to force anything. It has to be super organic. I think, and thank you God, like I've been able to like work with these brands and they're like, oh wow, we actually love that about you. Like it's been that, and that's why we hire you to shoot the project. So
over and over again, you know what I'm saying? And one, campaign or brand and that really struck me and that I believe really resonates with me very well was the Nike campaign that you did. Can we speak a little bit more and kind of give the audience the background story to that?
Oh yeah, that Nike campaign, I want to say it changed my entire life. Like on behind the scenes and like going into just different meetings, it's always brought up. It's always in a mood board with every single brand. So I think I've accepted the honesty part of like Juan and like showing up as yourself, right? So I think when that project came about, Nike reached out. This was like probably like 2017, 2018. Nike reached out and they were like, Juan, we have a Dominican inspired Air Force One coming out and we want you to just do your thing on it. And I was like, absolutely. I'm going to have my grandmother be the model. I'm going to have my mom creative direct the entire thing. I'm going to have my cousin Chrissy do all the makeup.
Fire.
And what's cool about that was my first project. I was living in LA. They flew me out back to New York. And I was like, Mommy, a lo que tú quieras. Like, this is you. I just want to capture y'all. And to this day, it's probably one of my favorite projects I've ever done. Again, it was just giving my grandmother her flowers, my family their flowers, because without my grandmother, we wouldn't be here. So I think that moment will forever like be like close to me, and I actually bring a piece of that to all of my shoots. That's the experience that I had with my family, which is crazy because they're my family. You would live with them, but to have them like a part of your work life, and have like a brand like Nike like revise your work with your grandmother and be like, oh wow, like we love this. This is such a dope approach. I'm like, that was all my mother. Like. Wow. I was just capturing them, being them. My grandma was being the diva that she is. Like she was like, "Why you no me pongo los tenis en la cama?" I'm like, "It's fine. It's just a shot. Like we're just living it for a moment."
That's fine.
But yeah, it was such a beautiful moment, and I'll forever like be grateful for that.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And how do you provide such a comfortability, right? When you're kind of in front of the camera, right? There's a level of feelings and mixed emotions that may happen, right? But for this particular campaign or just in general, right? When you're working with different people, how do you provide that comfortability for them?
I've acknowledged that I set the vibe as a photographer on set, whether it's with family, whether it's with so-and-so, doesn't matter. I set the tone for the shoot, and how I come to set, how I approach the set is how it's going to go. And my approach to everything is being super chill and honest, because at the end of the day, we're all human.
Yeah.
I just want to be appreciated. I want to hear you. Like, I want to ask you like how your day was, like how you feeling. Like, do you want to change the music? Like, I just want you to feel good. And that's always my approach with everything. Because at the end of the day, we just want to be looked at as humans. Doesn't matter who we are.
Yeah, and I love that you share that, because I think we all have a story to share. And I think when we first had a conversation kind of offline, when we first connected, there was a deep connection, kind of mutual connection about how we feel about our grandmothers.
Oh my God.
Can you speak a little bit more about how deep that connection is and some of those influences that she was able to kind of provide you?
Absolutely. Oh my God. My grandmother is Abuelita, call her Abuelita. She is amazing. And I think I'm the grandchild who's like, I'm curious. I want to know the upbringing. I want to know the struggles. I want to know like the moments you had where you kind of just, when you knew you were coming to America. And those moments inspired me to this day, because we kind of, again, we forget that our parents struggled and like sacrificed so much to come to America for a better life. Yeah. And I've always been obsessed with that. Like my grandmother is a badass. Like, and she will let you know. She'll let you know straight up. And I connect with my grandmother spiritually. I feel like on the spiritual side, that is like, she's like my guardian angel who's in the physical world, but also on the other side as well, which I think is pretty cool. And I just any moment I get, I try to give her flowers, any moment.
That's amazing. And I'm sure she's super proud of just everything that you've been able to accomplish. Yeah. And we touch upon some of the things that you were to accomplish, and we're going to get deeper into that, but I kind of want to backtrack a little bit more, because we know that, the road to success doesn't happen overnight, right? Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of behind the scenes moments where people may not necessarily see. We see all the highlight reels, which is phenomenal. We applaud you in every shape, way, or form. But, you know, I think when we take a minute to kind of pull the curtain, we see that this is kind of years of work, years of grind, hours of work. You know, can we speak a little bit more as to some of those early grind moments that you were experiencing, some of the challenges you had to overcome?
Absolutely. So I quit my job at 21, my full-time job. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to jump. Like, I feel like God is pushing me on the corner. It's just like, Juan, just do it. I got you. Got you. Just do it. Like, just feel what you feel. Like, of course, it's not going to be easy going down that hill, but we're going to work through this.
And what was happening at that moment? Because I want to capture that really quick. Like, you were feeling exactly what that God told you, like, nah, this is it.
I just felt, well, my 9 to 5, it just wasn't fulfilling me creatively. I was just like, this cannot be it. Like that, and that push was that feeling. It was like, this is not what you can't be working for someone like this.
Yeah.
You're not happy. You're not doing what you want to do. So just jump and I got you. So I think when I quit my job, I kid you not, a week after I quit my job, I got a deal with Red Bull to go to Dubai.
Whoa.
And I was like, God, say less.
That's what I'm talking about.
This is it. Like, this is my life. This is my calling. I had to do this, but I had to jump. I had to trust, and I had to have full faith on it. And I think that was the one where I was just like, just confirming, like, just hugging myself, like, Juan, you got this. You got this. Some self-talks. Ooh.
And to talk about those self-talks, what do you be saying to yourself?
Like, Juan, you are capable. You've been praying for this moment. Live in it. You live in it. You deserve this. Deserve this, live in it. And what you're dreaming, it has no comparison to what God has for you. So I think that's what's been pushing me. Well, at that time, it still does to this day, but at the time, that's what was pushing me even harder. It's like, this is nothing compared to what God has for you.
Wow.
So just believe in that, walk in that, feel that. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough as fuck. But fuck it. Like, and I'm from New York too. Like, I think if I was to be doing that in LA, like quitting my job, I think it would have been harder because New York is so fast paced and there's so much going on, and you can kind of get distracted with a lot. So I thank God that I went through that in New York. But once I got that Dubai trip with Red Bull, after that I worked with A$AP Ferg with High Snobiety, and I'm like, wait, what is happening? And then after that I worked with SZA for Genius, and I'm like,
whoa, yeah,
this is heavy. Because that was like one of my first gigs, like big gigs, working with like celebrities or like rappers or just artists in general. And I was just like, okay, we could do this.
That's dope. And how do you, like, when getting some of these big collaborations, right, with some really phenomenal people who you're capturing, kind of sharing these moments, like, how do you remain that confidence and stuff to continue to say to yourself, like, I belong here. This is what I've been praying for, and this is what God continues to manifest. Like, but how do you continue to, like, stay grounded in your own self and continue to shine through that confidence?
I think my grandmother always instilled it in me to be calm, be still, take in the moment, never forget who you are. And I think that's when I kind of just separated the celebrity word from everything. It's like, you just want to be loved on. You just want to be appreciated. Let me talk to you. Let me just capture you. Let me capture you. Like, so I remember I said this to SZA. She probably doesn't even remember this. But I was like, I want to capture Solana. I want to capture you. Like, of course, SZA is who she is, but I want to capture you. Like, I really want to capture that moment. So I think seeing people for the human beings that they are, I think that kind of just, like, woke me up and just I started seeing a different approach to how I handled anything on set.
Wow. And that speaks to a lot of the things that we see now today, right? And, you know, still leaning on some of those early days and stuff. I know that you've done tons of outreach in your early moments, right? Where you said, you know, in other conversations about you doing a lot of outreach and a lot of, like, looking up people's Instagrams, finding their emails, and just doing that outreach, right? Taking those bets on yourself. Walk us through those moments where you started just doing this, and what was kind of the return that you were seeing?
So I would do these things called Marketing Mondays. So every Monday, I will reach out to everybody named Mama. Just email the intro. Probably like 30 to 40 emails like every Monday.
Oh, wow.
And I kid you not, probably 2 will respond. 1 will be maybe, and then the other will be a straight up no. And what drive me was that maybe. That's all I need. Just give me give me a meeting. Give me something, and I'm gonna show my ass. I'm gonna really, like, pull up and be like, this is who I am. This is what I have to offer. I can create some dope shit. Trust me. Just trust me. I keep thinking New York because New York made me hungry to this day. I'm still hungry. I still feel like I haven't done shit in my career.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just hungry as fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, those Marketing Mondays, shifted a lot because it kind of like built this like embracing no's and knowing that the no is not the end all, but just that one maybe can change your entire life.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer that like we never know what that one connection, that one maybe can literally do for us. And I think that hunger, it is kind of a fast paced like New York kind of
Oh yeah.
style of living and stuff. And I'm curious, like, what kind of brought you to LA?
New York, I love you. But it started to feel a bit robotic. And my sister always says, Juan, when it ever gets comfortable, move. And I was like, Monica, we out? She was like, fuck it, we out. Wow. I was like, all right, say less. I was getting comfortable in New York. It was becoming like the same routine. I was kind of getting, I'm getting bored. I need something new. And I thank God I moved to LA. My career changed beyond, like I have no words. Like it was like a whole 360. Because it was like kind of you reinvented yourself. People know who I was from New York, but like I could just be whoever I want to be. Like I know who I was, but I think LA amplified that. Made me walk into my purpose. Made me like actually mean what I say and not like be scared. Yeah. It's like what's the worst that can happen? You gonna say no?
Right.
Next.
Yeah. And keep it moving.
Yeah, just keep it moving.
And with your work, right, you're very intentional, and your approach is very intentional from a very creative standpoint. And like we mentioned before, you do a lot of things in a very raw, organic, and authentic way, where you really capture some of the untold stories that people may not necessarily share. Like, why is it so important for you to kind of keep like equality, unity, and like identity and community at the forefront whenever you're creating some work?
Because I never had that growing up, or maybe it was there and it was just a lack of resource where I couldn't like do it. Like, I was probably ignorant and just wasn't thinking about it. I think for me, it will always be my duty to keep the honesty within the work and not try to force it. I don't care what the brand is. I'm just going to always approach it with one, being fully honest and seeing the subject for who they are. I think that's something beautiful that I've acknowledged and accepted within my career.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
What's kind of one of those things that's still on your vision board?
It's funny because I made a mood board, I want to say probably 4 months ago. And at the top front was Dominican Republic. And it said editorial at the bottom. But I wanted to use like actual people from Dominican. I didn't want to bring in models. I didn't want to bring in like artists or not. I just wanted to use the actual people from Dominican Republic where my mom grew up and highlight that. And just shot in like a docu-fashion way. Because I think that's been my approach. It has been like a documentary fashion approach. But I think that's up there. Like, I really want to go back to my roots and like get deep into that.
And what would you feel like you would be capturing in particular? Is there certain questions that come to mind or certain stories that you would want to kind of amplify?
Just the untold, like, let's say if there's like someone who wants to be a baseball player, someone who wants to be like a doctor, but just I want to capture them in their essence. I think
in their element.
Yeah, in their element, but still shot like with my vibe, like just docu-fashion, like very chill, intimate, like those really expressive moments of just like intimacy, like just them in their moment, them in their essence, and just capturing that.
For sure. Yeah. And where do you draw a lot of your inspiration from?
It's a mixture. I watch a lot of documentaries, a lot of movies.
I feel you. I'm the same way.
I love, and this is actually really funny. I watch a lot of reality TV.
Okay.
And
I feel like you got one in particular in mind.
Yes, I watch a lot of Love and Hip Hop.
Okay.
And I go back to Love and Hip Hop only because of how it started. Like, it was just like super raw and like just like New York, like the Jim Jones, like stuff like that. And I think that always inspires me. Like, it reminds me of like that hustle, like that grind in New York, that rawness. I think that like kind of always like trickles down to like what I do now.
That's fire.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy though, because we could draw so much inspiration from all different avenues. For me, like, I watch a lot of documentaries and interviews where I'm always a student for the game, right?
Yeah.
I'm always like taking notes, and there's a lot of these questions that I'm like, ooh, I really like how they frame that question. Maybe I'll add it to my arsenal, but I'll tweak it a little bit because this is my style almost, right? And you do that a lot. And I think, when we're continually evolving as people, we start to learn a little bit more about ourselves kind of as we get older.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things I feel like it's super fascinating about you is that you said that you were kind of this kid from Brooklyn who had big dreams. And looking at all the success that you've achieved now, did you ever imagine that this is the level of success you'll be achieving?
You know, it was so funny. Growing up, even like when I was like in just like elementary school, I felt different.
Mm.
I was like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what I'm destined for, but it's greatness. Whatever greatness is, I'll take it. I'll accept it. But I just knew something. There was something, and looking back at everything now, I can just envision, just see young Juan just looking around, like not feeling accepted, and wanting more for himself. So I think that how I was telling you earlier, everything that I do is for young Juan
Mm.
because he just didn't feel like his voice even mattered. So to even be speaking about
But Mike, yeah.
like it's wild, and he is freaking out.
Juan, you touched upon a lot, and one of the things I want to kind of lean on is how do you keep yourself kind of really grounded in these moments, right? You touched upon the self work that you do, the self affirmations that you say to yourself every day, but I know this is something that you're not learning, overnight and stuff.
All right.
I kind of want to touch a little bit more into that balance.
I think for me, staying grounded is like always a big part of like whether it's my spiritual journey or just my work journey. But having just good energy around me, having my tribe, is always a big thing for me because I never want to forget where I've come from, how all the work that I've put in, everything that I've done. So I think a mixture of that is always like comes into play when just keeping me grounded and like those like self affirmations that I tell myself every day. I had this. I actually wrote this on my mirror. It says, "Thank you for showing me that this issue is already solved."
Wow.
That's on my mirror in my room and in my bathroom. So I always read that to myself. And it's just saying like, thank you to the universe. Thank you to God. It's already solved. One,
Mhm.
don't trip. Don't stress about it. It's already handled. It's solved.
Wow.
Yeah.
And every time you look in the mirror, you see this.
Yeah.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
And it provides so much affirmation to who
Oh my
you are
God.
and where you're going, right?
Mhm.
And in the last couple of questions here, I kind of want to lean a little bit more on like, what about your culture kind of inspires you the most?
My culture, it fully inspires me within like all of me is all I know. It's because of my culture and how I was raised, down to how I eat breakfast in the morning, down to how I call my mother before any photo shoot, any project. But this cool story. I went to the Dominican Republic in 2021 this past year, and I told myself I was going to go photograph my family and photograph the culture and just photograph the Dominican Republic as just capturing moments. And I put my camera down,
Mm.
and I was like, I want to live in this. I want to be grounded. I want to be. I want to feel my roots. I want to put my feet on the floor. Like
Mm.
I just want to feel for a moment. And once I felt like I got a good like grasp of like, these are my people. This is where I come from. This is where my family came from. Picked up my camera and I probably created my best body of work
Wow.
that I haven't released yet, but eventually will come out. There's no date on it, and I think that's the beauty of it. It's on my time.
That's fire.
Yeah.
I love that, man. You say your time, and that's
Yeah.
when you create some of these significant moments in these untold stories that, when you do put it out, that's God going to say, yo, Juan, it's time.
It's time. Yeah. And I'll know. I'll know when it's time. And I think because we live in such a deadline world,
Mm.
it's kind of cool to just be like, there is no deadline.
Yeah.
There's no stress. We're just creating. And that's it. There's no like, as long as it feels good to me, that's all I'm going to do. And I don't want to attach a deadline to that.
Yeah. Juan, you touch on so many things that, one thing that I know that you really take pride into as well is your identity. Can you speak a little bit more of why that's so powerful to you, especially when you're showing up as your true self?
Yeah. I feel like because growing up, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was growing up in Brooklyn, being a Dominican black kid. I didn't know. I didn't know, like, can I speak Spanish?
Mm.
Like, is my Spanish not the best? I didn't know what it was. But there was a moment where I had to just be like, Juan, this is who you are. You're Dominican, you're black, you're an artist, you're gay. Accept it. Live in that moment.
Mm.
And nobody can take that away from you. And I think as I grow up, I was actually asked this recently. It was like, Juan, when did you start fully seeing yourself?
Mm.
And I was like, when I came out to my family.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I fully see who I am. I create differently now because you can't really tell me nothing.
Yeah.
I know who I am. My family knows who I am. And I feel like I keep going back to my family because they're the root of it all. And I wanted their acceptance
Mm,
when I was like finding myself. So thank God, blessed to like have a family to like really trust me and know me and love on me
mm.
and just accept my identity and accept who I am.
I love that, bro.
Yeah,
And thank you so much for sharing that.
absolutely.
And seeing those full circle moments, I think it just speaks so much value into the support. So I praise, the strong support system you got at home.
Yeah, we need it. We need it. And I don't take it for granted because it's not the same for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not. And every moment that I get to say thank you, mommy, thank you, Tia, thank you, sister, like just thank you, family, like thank you. Because I need a tribe. We need a
Yeah.
tribe in this industry. We
Yeah.
can't do this shit on our own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, man. And through all of this, right, we touch on so many things. I want to take this time to really give you your flowers,
Thank you.
for all that you have done. And you're going to just be inspiring so many people along the
Thank
way.
you, man.
So I just want to just give you your flowers, man, for
Thank
all
you,
that you
man.
do.
Thank you. Thank you.
And on the flip side, we actually asked the guests, who would you give your flowers to?
I would give my flowers to my sister who recently gave birth to a beautiful baby boy last week. And it was just
Fire.
beautiful to
Congrats.
see. Thank you. It's beautiful to see a sibling in that way. Because of the times we can't be in the hospital. So we were on Zoom. So that was interesting. I'm like, I feel like I'm watching a movie, but this is like legit my like dead ass. This is my sister, like my full on sister, my best friend. And to see her just like handling like contractions and just like, I'm like, yo, you're a superwoman. Like, of course, I've always respected moms, but I have a full on respect for mothers now after seeing my sister go through that and just like handle it like a boss. So I think that alone, like, all the flowers, all the flowers to my sister, my family, my tribe, all my best friends. And honestly, I want to give after that, after my family, my friends, give you your flowers just to creating the space for artists to just speak about what we go through. Yes, we do cool shit, but we're also human and we feel and we have ups and downs. So thank you for allowing us to have this space.
No, I appreciate you,
No
man.
doubt.
And just the energy here, man. It makes it easy to have conversations like this and open the doors for people like you because it's important for us to know the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I just appreciate the energy and for you to be
No
here.
doubt. No doubt.
But Juan, as I said, this is something that I've been super moved by, and I hope the viewers today and everybody's tapping in today is super moved as well. But in the last question, what's your message to those who may be tuning in for the first time?
Just love on yourself. We're already going through hard shit. Just love on yourself. Be easy on yourself. Give yourself grace.
Mm.
Like things are not easy. Things won't get easier, but it's just how you handle and how you react to it. Just chill, breathe, hug on yourself. Just chill. It's gonna work out. It's gonna work out some way, somehow. But just give yourself grace. I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, again, bro, thank you so much for being
No
here,
doubt.
for being present, and for just sharing the same space, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And there you have it. That was Off the Cuff with Juan Veloz.